All right, Genesis chapter 20. We have finally made it to the center, the climax, if you will, of all the Abraham stories. So, just to kind of recap where we're at, so chapter 20 is going to start off a new theme, a new block. And so it's the middle third of the Abraham. Now, the first third was 3 parts, and it was quite lengthy. It was from 11 through the end of 19. This one's going to be shorter. So it's the most climactic thing that we've been building to. And so Abraham and Sarah have done some terrible things to try to get children. They're going to finally successfully receive a child. And then we're going to see some really hard to understand things about how they're tested as a result of this. Let's just read it. Going to be some crazy things that happen. All right. Chapter 20, verse 1. And Abraham journeyed from there to the land of the Negev, and he dwelt between Kadesh and between Shur, and he was migrating in Gerar. So if we had a map out, Gerar, this is Philistine country. Negev is down south, so we're down on the southern end, and we're coming up on Philistine country. And Abram said about his wife, "She is my sister." Whoa, where did this come from? All right. So I decided to just go ahead and read it there, but these are echoing really weird things in your head, and it's happening really quickly. Because here we have Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and he took Sarah. Didn't we already hear this story? And you have. That is intentional. It's way back in, what is it, chapter 12 maybe? So in chapter 12, they go down to Egypt, so a different place. Here they're in Philistine country. They were in Egypt. And it's the same story, though. It's the same... she is my sister. So chapter 12, verse 19, why did you say she is my sister? And so it's all the same thing coming back again. So we kind of are hoping that these first 3 cycles through the melody that Abraham is now finished. He's been renamed from Avram to Abraham, and we're hoping he's a changed man. And he's trusted God and been called righteous, but we're still making a lot of the same old mistakes. So traveling with God, great. Reach perfection, no, that's not the case. So we have a repeat of a story, but it goes a little different this time. So before, Sarai at the time was taken as a wife, where it goes a little different this time. Now Abimelech had not gone near to her. Oops, I accidentally skipped a line or two. So I skipped verse 3. So back to verse 3. Let's go back there. So he took Sarah in verse 2, now verse 3. And Elohim came to Abimelech in a dream of the night. And he said to him, "Look, you are about to die on account of the wife whom you took, as she is married to a husband." Now Abimelech had not gone near to her, and he said, by the way, the other story does not have a line like that. He said to her, "My master, would you murder a nation that is also righteous?" So it's kind of like this echo back to like how Abraham was trying to talk down God. "Didn't he say to me, 'She is my sister'? And she also said, 'He is my brother'? In the blamelessness of my heart and by the innocence of my hands, I have done this." And they do talk about this later in the Bible. So there's the sin of the high hand. That's like when you know that something you're doing is wrong. And then there's sins done in ignorance. And they do have like different atonements that need to happen for them, right? And Elohim said to him in a dream. So very clearly this time it's in a dream, which is interesting. The other time we didn't know how Pharaoh found out, but this time it's very clearly explicit. "I do know that in the blamelessness of your heart you have done this. So I withheld you from committing moral failure against me." This is how we hope that Yahweh thinks is wise in all of our situations. He stops it before it happens. Unfortunately, that's not always the best way for us to learn. "This is why I did not allow you to touch her." By the way, the word touch here reminds me of like that Eve said they couldn't touch the fruit. It's kind of interesting. "And now return the wife of the man because he is a prophet, and he can pray on your behalf so that you can have life. And if you don't return her, know that you will certainly die, you and all that belongs to you." And Abimelech rose early in the morning. Usually good things happen early in the morning. I have to remember that. And he called his servants, and he spoke all these words in their ears, and the men were afraid very much. So the fear of the Lord. And Abimelech called to Abraham and said to him, "What is it you have done to us? What moral failure have I committed against you, that you have brought upon me and upon my kingdom this great moral failure? Things that should not be done, that's what you've done to me." And Abimelech said to Abraham, "What did you see?" Little c, you saw that it would be good to lie to me, "that you have done this thing?" And Abraham said, it's like the blame game at the garden, right? "It was the snake. It was this. It's because I said, 'Surely there is no fear of Elohim in this place,'" but obviously there was fear, because a great fear just came over them. I love how they highlight those. "So that they will murder me on account of my wife. And also, she truly is my sister. She's the daughter of my father, just not the daughter of my mother. So she became my wife." "And it came about, when Elohim made me wander from the house of my father, then I said to her, 'This can be loyal love, this can be hesed that you do for me. In whatever place we go, say of me, he is my brother.'" And so, same story again. The crazy thing is you're going to read this story a third time, because Isaac is going to do it too. Isn't that crazy? "And Abimelech took flocks and cattle and slaves and female slaves, and he gave them to Abraham, and he returned to him Sarah his wife. And Abimelech said, 'Look, my land is before you. Dwell where it is good in your eyes.'" So many repetitions in the Bible. "And to Sarah he said, 'Look, I give 1,000 silver to your brother. Look, it is for you a covering of the eyes.'" Hush money, right? Didn't even happen. It's a covering of the eyes "for all who are with you. And as for everything, you are thus beyond dispute." And Abraham prayed to Elohim. So he said that he was a prophet and he could pray for him. So he does. So he's involved. And Elohim healed Abimelech and his wife and his female slaves, and they gave birth. So apparently, had closed the wombs, right? So didn't even really know all those details until it's undone. Because Yahweh had fully restrained every womb in the house of Abimelech on account of Sarah, the wife of Abraham. So it's an interesting story. It's also interesting how the Bible writes stories in that it doesn't just explain it to you. It's just like, these things happen, right? And so it's kind of interesting that Abraham messed up, right? And God bails him out. So God is part of a covenant agreement with Abraham, and he is sworn to be partners with him, which is kind of interesting. And that's one of the themes that we're going to see here about maintaining your partnership, even when it's not necessarily the world's most fairest thing, right? Like, is it fair that Elohim stepped in and protected Sarah from Abimelech? I don't know, but that's what happened. All right, so this next chunk is going to be written in 4 pieces, and they're going to ping pong. So 1 and 3 kind of go together, and 2 and 4 kind of go together. And that's done for part of the structure. So we will see Abimelech again at chapter 21, verse 22, but we're going to say goodbye to him now, and he will be back. All right, so let's turn the page, and we're going to start in on Genesis chapter 21. We're going to start with verse 1. So we're going to finally have some kids, right? Is kind of the idea here, at long last. And there's going to be problems associated with it as well. Chapter 21, verse 1. Now Yahweh visited Sarah, just as he said, And Yahweh did for Sarah just as he spoke. And Sarah became pregnant and gave birth to a son for Abraham in his old age. By the way, it makes me remember Genesis 3, what was it, 3:16, 3:15? I forget which it is, but they talk about how there will be some bone, some pain when you have a son, but it's not nearly as bad as the conceiving kind of pain. So kind of a link all the way back to Genesis 3 here. At the appointed time that Yahweh had spoken to him, and Abraham called the name of his son, the one born for him, whom Sarah had borne for him, Yitzhak. That's the name Isaac. It's the same name. It's just better pronounced as Yitzhak. And it's the word laughter because Sarah laughed and also Abraham laughed whenever God said he was going to do this. So Yitzhak is his name. And Abraham circumcised Yitzhak. Oh, yeah, we remember that. Presumably it was on the 8th day. His son, a son of 8 days, just as Elohim commanded him. So back in chapter 17, we had the covenant of circumcision, and it is not forgotten, right? And Abraham was a son of 100 years. So he was 100 years old whenever he had a son. Shem was also 100 whenever he had a son. When Yitzhak, his son, was born for him. And Sarah said, Elohim has made laughter for me. Everyone who hears will laugh with me. So it's kind of turning that frown upside down. So laughter has been a negative. It's been a sign of disbelief, of unbelief. But now laughter can also be a positive thing. And so it looks like we're using laughter as a positive thing here. And she said, who would have told Abraham and Sarah that Sarah would nurse sons? But I have given birth for him in his old age. And the child grew big, and he was weaned. And Abraham made a big feast on the day that Yitzhak was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian. Oh, man, things are going good. Didn't you have to really go there? Yeah, we apparently had to really go there. So Sarah saw the son of Hagar, so this is Ishmael, the Egyptian, the one she had borne for Abraham, making laughter. So laughter, you had a good run. You had one little positive note, but now laughter is a negative again. So it's most translations call it mocking him or something like that, treating him as very light, as not very important, a joke, right? And so she's pretty mad. And she said to Abraham, banish this slave woman and her son, because he will not inherit his son, this son of a slave woman, along with my son, along with Yitzhak. And the matter was very much evil in the eyes of Abraham on account of his son. So Abraham doesn't like that they can't all get along, right? Abraham wants this to work out smooth, right? And wants us to, suck it up. They're both my kids, so just deal, right? It's what he wants to say. But Abraham is in a relationship, a partnership with Sarah. And so we get told what to do. This is really interesting. And Elohim said to Abraham, don't let it be evil in your eyes about the young boy and about your slave woman. Everything that Sarah says to you, listen to her voice. So for those of us that are married, there's a significant little one-liner. It's also interesting that this is the first time that Yahweh has said this to Abraham. Yahweh did not say this to Abraham before when it came to taking the slave woman. But here, the right thing to do is you've kind of gotten yourself knee deep in a pile of it, right? And so we've got to figure out what we're going to do. But the right thing to do in this situation, even though Abraham sees like her plan as evil in his eyes, he doesn't think it's a good idea. The right thing to do is to listen to your partner. So you're going to do it. It's kind of similar to how Elohim bailed out Abraham, even though Abraham, I don't know, may or may not have deserved it. But we see a lot more of Yahweh's character this time for how to deal with non-ideal situations? How do we move forwards in a faithfully way? And the answer here is your partnership. Listen to her voice, right? Because it's by Yitzhak that your seed will be called, and also the son of the slave woman, I will make him into a nation, because he is your seed. So I'm going to take care of him, right? So you do listen to what Sarah says, and you do it. And so pretty clear what Abram needs to do. And Abram rose early in the morning. Good notes. So he's going to make good choices here, which is interesting. Going to have to wake up extra early tomorrow. He took bread and water. Bread in the cup. We keep saying this, bread in the cup. And so he took a skin of water. It'd be interesting to see what the Hebrew is behind the skin there. And he gave to Hagar, placing upon her shoulder and the child. The Hebrew is deliberately confusing here about who he just put up on the shoulder. Did he put the water up there, the child? But the child, keep in mind, is 14 plus at this point. Depending on how long it took Yitzhak to also get weaned, he might be a 16-year-old kid. You're not going to put a 16-year-old up on her shoulder. And she's probably, I don't know, mid-30s at this point. And so he sent her away, and she went. And she wandered in the wilderness of Beer-sheva, the well of seven. By the way, there's still three I call them pericope left in this cycle, in this narrative, and they're all going to involve Beer-sheva, the well of seven, right? So it's kind of funny. And the water finished from the skin. So we've got water in the wilderness, and we have no water. We need an Eden. We need an Eden here, right? And so she cast the child under one of the bushes. So we got trees, we've got a lack of water, waiting for the Ruach, right? And so we're waiting for God to step in, right? And she went, and she sat herself a distance away, going as far as one can shoot a bow. Last time we heard the bow was the bow in the sky. So that's interesting. Because she said, I can't see the death of the child. I can't bear to watch it, right? And she sat a distance away, and she lifted up her voice, and she wept. And Elohim heard the voice of the young boy. And the messenger of Elohim called to Hagar from the skies, and he said to her, so we have the voice coming, so the wind, the Ruach finally comes. What is it that concerns you, Hagar? Don't be afraid, because Elohim has heard the voice of the young boy in the place where he is. So the breath comes, right? Get up. So we've had this get up a few times. So there was like a get up and get yourself going out of this land. There will be a get up coming in chapter 22 here, right at the start. Get up. Pick up the boy and take him with your hand, because I will make him a nation, a great one. And Elohim opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. So out from Eden, there was a stream, and it went and watered all the land. So we've got water in the wilderness, so life. And she went, and she filled the skin of water, and she had the young one drink. And Elohim was with the young boy, and he grew big, and he dwelt in the wilderness. And he was a shooter of the bow. So we had this bow thing. And he dwelt in the wilderness, little chiastic structure there, of Paran. And his mother took for him a wife from the land of Egypt. So he walks out of the narrative. And so to Abraham, he lost a son, right? So he has two sons, and he gave up a son here. He listened to the voice of Sarah, which was the right thing to do. And he surrendered his first of his two sons. So kind of, an appropriate response to Abraham's actions. And so kind of interesting. All right, so we've got a Yitzhak. We have kind of resolved some things. You would think that the next story would be Yitzhak and Abraham going up on a mountain. But instead, due to the structure of these things, we've got 15 verses or so, 13 verses, back with Avimelech. What we're expecting is we've just had new life. We've had water out of dryness. We've had the voice of God come and make life. So we're kind of expecting negative Eden choices, right? It's kind of what we're expecting. But we will actually not have that. We'll have people finding ways to have unity, which will be better. All right, so Genesis 21, verse 22. And it came about at that time that Avimelech said to Phicol, captain of his army, to Abraham, saying, so Avimelech is back, and he's got Phicol, the captain of his army, not necessarily a great sign. And he says to Abraham, Elohim is with you in all you are doing. And now swear an oath. So swear a sheva. This is the number 7. This is an oath. This is the well of sevens, right? Swear a sheva to me. It's pronounced a little different. By Elohim, look, if you deal falsely with me or my offspring or descendants, according to the loyal love I have done to you, so you will deal with me and with the land that you have migrated within. And Abraham said, I will swear an oath. So this Avimelech, he respects Elohim, which is great. And Abraham disputed with Avimelech on account of a well of water. So we're talking about the well of 7. We've got an oath here, same word, a well of water. So they've decided to make a pact, which is good. And now we've got a division between the brothers that's coming, this dispute over water. And we kind of expect it to end poorly, but it doesn't either. They find a way to make a covenant and work it out, right? Which is cool. All right. So a dispute with Avimelech on account of a well of water that the servants of Avimelech had stolen. And Avimelech said, I don't know who did this thing. And also, you didn't report it to me. And also, I never heard about it until this day. So not a great start. And Abraham took sheep and oxen, and he gave so he took and he gave, same words. took and gave. But this one is a good one, right? So it's a good choice. To Avimelech, and the two of them cut a covenant. So they, the word cut and covenant, they're both kind of sound like barit. So we're going to cut a covenant. And Abraham set up 7 female lambs of the flock. I really bet there's probably 7 Shivas in this, alone. And Avimelech said to Abraham, what are these 7 female lambs that you have set up alone? So there's, by the way, a lot of wordplay on alone or together as one, which I don't fully get, but I just thought I'd mention that it's there. And he said, because the 7 female lambs you will take from my hand, so that it will become a witness. This witness is an interesting word that's fun to run a theme on, but we don't have time. You will become a witness on my behalf that I dug this well. And for this reason, one calls that place Be'er Sheva, well of 7, just where Hagar was at in the last story. Because there the two of them swore an oath, a Sheva. So it's the same word for 7, an oath. And they cut a covenant at Be'er Sheva. And Avimelech got up, and Phicol, the captain of his army, and they returned to the land of the Philistines. So no bloodshed, no problems. And he planted a tree. It says here a tamarisk tree. I guess I don't really know what that means. At Be'er Sheva. And he called on the name of Yahweh El Eternal. And he was a migrant in the land of the Philistines for many days. So presumably that's Abraham was welcome in the land of the Philistines for quite some time, potentially. So that's kind of neat. Great. So we've got some very clear structuring, because we did not have to ping pong back and forth between Avimelech and Yitzhak. And to be honest, this story wasn't really that important. It was supposed to be a division, but it was showing a way that you can make unity instead. So that's kind of interesting. All right, next is our most challenging story, Genesis 22, verses 1 through 19. You would think, as famous as this story is, that it would be even longer. It's only 19 verses, but this is the binding of Isaac, so the binding of Yitzhak, or we call it the sacrifice of Isaac, which is weird because he doesn't actually get sacrificed. So this is the binding of Yitzhak. All right, so in the melody, we're kind of thinking that we've probably got a collapse coming, and there is in fact a collapse of some kind, but then new life will come out of it. So we've got the cycle still going, right? All right, so let's just read. Chapter 22, verse 1. And it came about after these things that Elohim tested Abraham. This opening line is a title more than anything else. And so this section is very much called Elohim tested Abraham. So whatever the story is, it's many things. It is very much a test, right? And so a test, we think of it as like a negative thing, like an exam, but it's a revealing of who Abraham is. So it really comes down to, does Abraham fully trust Yahweh, right? And it's unfortunate what this test is, it's hard, right? But the point is Abraham has done many things, and he has done whatever it takes to preserve his son, his seed, his future descendants, and that's like his lineage. That's how he's going to like pass forward all of the work that he's done is through this person. And so the test is, I don't know, it kind of fits the crime, right? And he said to him, Abraham, and he said, look, it's me. And so we've got this this phrase here where Yahweh says Abraham, and then Abraham responds, look, it's me. Just really quickly glance down to verse 7. Yitzhak said to his father, and he said, my father. And he said, look, it's me, my son. And so there's a lot of like parallels here. So the idea is that, you know, Yahweh is to Avram as Avram is to Yitzhak is the analogy. And so there's a lot going on in this story, but let's just kind of think about that one as we go. And so he said to him, please take your son, your only one, whom you love, Yitzhak. So the parallels to Jesus can't be overlooked here, right? So John described him as the monogenes, the one and only Son of God. And then when he came out of the water, this is my son whom I love, with him I'm well pleased. And so Abraham, who is the father of Yitzhak, is going to be doing a lot of the same things that Yahweh and Jesus will do, right? Get yourself going. So this is a popular phrase. This is how we started the whole Abraham story, right? So this is the climax of the thing that we started, to get yourself going to the land that I will show you, right? The land that I will show you. Get yourself going to the land of Moriah. This is a hill in Jerusalem. So this is where the temple will later be built, where they'll have sacrifices every day, which is right next to the place where Jesus is crucified, right? So it's all the same geographic location, literally just thousands of years apart. Make him go up there as a going up offering. So there's many different types of offerings. A going up offering, a holah offering. It's where you burn up the whole animal, right? So there's nothing left, all set ablaze. On one of the mountains, which I will say to you. And Abraham rose early in the morning. So it is hard to read the Bible. I get that. But they do provide clues to you when you read it about whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. And this is a good thing. So Abraham trust, right, is really what this story comes down to. So this is a revealing of Abraham, and Abraham trust. And so he's going to trust. So here goes. And he bound up his donkey, and he took 2 of his young men with him, and Yitzhak his son, and he split the wood of the going up offering, and he rose, and he went to the place which Elohim said to him. So the mountains I'll say to you, Elohim said to him. So he's taking the 2 young men, and Yitzhak. So he's taking these things. So 3 of them total, which is kind of interesting. People always look at that and wonder why there's exactly 3. And there were 3 that went to visit Abraham and Sarah in the tent, and all these 3s. And people sometimes put a lot into 3s, but we'll just kind of let it go here. On the 3rd day, yeah, you see the reference. Then Abraham lifted his eyes, and he saw the place from a distance. And Abraham said to his young men, "Sit yourself here with the donkey, and I and the young boy, we will go to there, and we will worship, and we will return to you." It's interesting the way the story is written, because Abraham and Yitzhak have never been closer, right? We will go, we will worship, we will return to you. And so there's different interpretations of "we will return to you." But it sounds like Abraham is trusting, and he's going to do what he's told, but he says, "We will return to you." You could take that as a con so the men don't get suspicious, but it seems pretty genuine that he's expecting "we will return to you." I'll also say later it says in Hebrews and other places that Abraham reasoned that God would restore his son, right? And so Abraham took the wood of the going up offering, and we've already read this a few verses ago, and he placed, so usually it's you took and you gave, but here he took and he placed it upon Yitzhak his son, and he took in his hand, so reaching out with his hand and taking the fire and the eater. Eater is an uncommon word for knife, but it is a valid word for knife. It's kind of like the mouth of a sword, so knives devour, so it's a devourer. And the 2 of them went together as one. So all these negative things, but then these 2 are united like never before. And Yitzhak said to Abraham, his father, this is like a classic, and he said, "My father." And he said, "Look, it's me, my son." And he said, "Look, the fire and the wood, but where is the sheep for the going up offering?" That's the classic line there, right? And so it's interesting that now Yitzhak is actually involved in this story. And so Yitzhak is presumably a young man. Who knows how long we've been here with the Philistines, but he's like 14, 15 at least, and could be a fair amount older. Abraham is 100 plus. Who's going to win a fist fight, right? So Yitzhak has to choose to trust his father. He does ask about it, but he does have to choose to trust his father because he could easily bolt, right? And Abraham said, "Elohim will see to it." So Elohim will see the sheep for the going up offering, my son. And the 2 of them went together as one. So again, 2 of them went together as one. 2 of them went together as one. So this story is a lot of things, right? I will say that as a young Christian, I didn't actually read the story. I just kind of knew about it. And to be honest, it didn't make sense to me. And I kind of thought it was baloney, because Yahweh would never deal with me that way. So it just didn't make sense. And so I kind of reasoned my own story and just kind of said that Abraham was a little crazy. God never meant for him to do it. And eventually God stopped him, right? But that's not at all what the text is saying. Like, the goal is to be shaped by the Bible, not just kind of make it whatever you want. So definitely have some poor choices I've made in my past. And hopefully you don't make the same kind of mistakes. So there's a lot of trust, and the 2 of them are going together as one, right? And this is all a test, right? This is the revealing of Abraham, and not just Abraham, but also Yitzhak as well. And it couldn't be much more symbolic of to trust your father and put the wood upon your back and go up a mountain in Jerusalem, right? Like, what did this story mean to Jesus? Seems pretty clear. And they went to the place which Elohim had said, and Abraham built there an altar right where the altar was even in Jesus' time. And he arranged the wood and he bound Yitzhak his son. And so that's the line right there, the binding of Yitzhak, that most rabbinic scholars would refer to this story as. And he placed upon the altar atop the wood, and Abraham sent out his hand and he took the eater to slay his son. So all pretty bad. And so we were expecting a clap story, and this is it, right? So this is the death and the claps. But we also were expecting for new life to come out through it. And so that's what we're about to get. And the messenger of Yahweh called to him from the skies. So there's going to be two callings from the skies. He said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, look, it's me. So this goes right back to the very start where he said, Abraham. And he said, look, it's me. So same thing. And then when the father and son are talking together, right? Saying a name twice is kind of a term of endearment. It's like Martha, Martha. And so it's said twice. And so it's a little bit more personal, right? And he said, don't send out your hand towards the young one and don't do anything to him, because now I know that you are one who fears Elohim, and you didn't withhold your son, your only one, from me. By the way, I also will point out that Abraham had multiple sons, right? And so the only one doesn't mean the only one, like literally the way we mean it, but it just means like special and unique and one of a kind and unique, right? And so that's how, in the same way Jesus is the one and only Son of God, he is the unique Son, right? And we see that Abraham chooses Yahweh, right? And Abraham lifted his eyes and he saw, and look, a ram afar, caught in a bramble by its horns. And so ram, male, but it's a lamb, a sheep, right? And Abraham went and he took the ram and he made it go up as a going up offering in the place of his son. So a lamb sacrificed in the place of his son. Yeah, the symbolism is pretty rich here, right? And Abraham called the name of that place, Yahweh will see to it, which is why today it is said, on the mountain of Yahweh it will be seen to. And again, this story means a lot to us, kind of in the hindsight of Jesus, but it also meant a lot to the people who would receive this story and kind of use this as an explanation for why we have sacrifices on this hill at the temple, right? And the messenger of Yahweh called to Abraham a second time from the skies. So we've got some certainty coming here. And he said, I swear an oath by myself, utterance of Yahweh, on account of the fact that you did this thing, that you did not withhold your son, your only one, that I will certainly bless you, and I will certainly multiply your seed, like the stars of the sky, and like the sand upon the edge of the seas. And so the second time of certainty, these promises have been made before, but they are repeated here for emphasis, right? This is with certainty. And your seed will inherit the gate of their enemies, and all the nations of the land will find blessing in your seed. So all the nations of the land. Sometimes we overlook that this has always been about all the nations of the land, not just about the people of the Israelites, right? On the heel. That's kind of funny. You remember the promise that we're looking for? We're looking for this promise for he will strike your head and you will strike his heel, right? And so this little keyword droppings that this blessing here, all the nations will find blessing in you, links all the way back to the Genesis 3:15 of, gotta make sure I got the right verse on that. So on the heel of the fact that you listen to my voice. And Abraham returned to his young men, and they arose and they went together as one to Beer-sheva, the well of seven, and Abraham dwelt in Beer-sheva. So a really meaningful, significant story. I think of the Bible as many things. It's the word of Yahweh to us so that we can know him. But I also definitely see the Bible as like, I don't know, there's this movie Memento where like he makes notes to himself because he knows he's going to forget things the next day. I see the Bible as also like Jesus's notes to Jesus of like how he's to understand his role, right? And so this story I think is one of those. All right, you could read this again. You could read this many times. Definitely don't dismiss it as I used to when I was younger. There's a lot that's trying to be communicated to us here. And we're not the original audience for this, but we can definitely take quite a bit away from it. All right, so a pretty big chunk of text here. Definitely a good time for you to take a big break. We'll come back next time. But to be honest, we're over the mountaintop, and so now we're just going to be passing the torch to the next generation. We'll see you then.